I'd like to go on to activity 14, which is called Understanding an Analogy. An analogy. How many syllables do we hear in this word analogy? Four. And where is the stress? Analogy. 4, 2. Good. Watch me and do this. Analogy. Analogy. And do we use a or an in front of it? An. So we say an analogy. Understanding an analogy. Okay, what is an analogy? An analogy is a situation or a story that's similar to another, and it helps people to understand. So an analogy compares, okay, I don't want this one to talk to me about part 2 right now. Okay. An analogy compares a familiar idea to an unfamiliar idea. So people use analogies to help you understand something that is easy to understand or familiar, and something that's new or difficult to understand. We say these things are similar in some way, so we create an analogy. For example, if we say the mind is like a muscle, it's similar to a muscle in what way? When you exercise the mind, you can perform better. Your brain works better if it works harder and has more practice. Just like exercising your muscle, okay? So if you lift weights, then your muscle gets what? Weaker or stronger? Okay. So we want to have you be weaker or stronger? Stronger. All right. So your mind is not a muscle. It is not a muscle, but it's like a muscle, because if you use it more often, then you will get better at it, at better ways of thinking. You can think better, think more clearly, think more quickly, think more efficiently. So we say this is an analogy. We can also make another kind of analogy. For example, the internet is like a water hose. So we know water hose from a long time ago. We turn on the water and whoosh, water goes out the other end, right? So if you have a very small hose, drip, 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 drip. We have a big hose. So like if you work for the fire department, you had better use a big hose, and the water comes out in a large amount and very fast. How about if you are on dial-up internet access? Dial-up internet is like a little telephone cord. Everything is very slow. It comes to your computer slow. But if you are on broadband, you have DSL or cable, then the pipe is bigger, and the information comes to your computer and goes out much more quickly. So we can say there's an analogy in that way too. That's another analogy. Are you with me? Yes. Okay, good. So in part 2, the lecturer uses an analogy, and the comparison is between what and what? What was her analogy? She didn't talk about brain and muscle. She didn't talk about internet access and a water hose. What was the analogy? Between sleep debt and money debt. Right, we understand money debt. You borrow money, you have a debt. You have to pay it back. Well, this concept about sleep debt is not so common. So if you want to use an analogy between money debt, we understand that. But sleep debt may be a new concept, so that's why the lecturer uses this analogy. All right? So let's look at the activity on page 142. Suppose you don't get enough sleep. Okay, what is the second one? What happens when you deprive your body and your brain the amount of sleep that it requires? Number 3, that creates a sleep debt. Don't pronounce the B, please. Make it silent like this, debt. Put your lips together for sleep, but not for the word debt. Sleep debt. Good, very nice. And number 4, you owe your body some sleep. Just like you owe your friend money if you borrow money, you owe the bank money if you take out a loan, you owe yourself. You owe yourself sleep. If you don't get enough sleep on one night, you have to catch up on it on another night. Okay, let's look at the next one, number 5. Just like you're supposed to make your car payments every month. That's what she talked about. She gave the analogy of that, right? Say you're supposed to pay $300 a month, but you pay $200. Then what? Then you're $100 in debt. Yes. And number 8 is if you miss the payment totally, then you're $300 in debt because you add $200 plus $100 equals $300. Your total debt is $300. Okay, number 9. Sleep debt is like that too. 10. The bank can take away your car if you don't make any payments. And number 11. Sleep debt can take your life away. Do you know what that means, to take your life away? What does that mean? What does it mean to take your life away? Die, right, you will die, right, if you're not careful. And that's not funny, but some people die because they have sleep debt and they make mistakes with heavy machinery or with automobiles or with big ships or with airplanes. Lots of big machinery malfunctions because people, human error due to sleep debt. Okay, so number 12, it can cause serious injury. 3-1. Pronounce 3 syllables, stress the first. Injury. It can cause serious injury to your body. Right? Are you with me? Okay. I think we'll pause here.